Hey everybody, welcome back to Otter's Retirement Corner. I've had a couple of requests to talk about Kamala Harris's policies and how they will affect retirees. So the most obvious one that would affect retirees is her plan to stop food price gouging. Now, what is price gouging? And that's here's the problem. A lot of these things aren't defined. The policy isn't defined really well. But in general, if you were to say, "Hey, we're going to hold the price of food down," for retirees, that would be a great thing. Especially the 40% or so that are living on just Social Security. Um, to prevent price gouging would be nice. It's a good idea. So, typically, though, when you think of price gouging, the way it's normally defined is in periods of high shortages when people raise their prices more than their costs rise. And the classical example is, let's say there's a hurricane and, one town or one city loses their electricity and there's flooding, so bottled water becomes a premium priced item, where normally a bottle of water is $1, retailers start charging $10. Or generators, which are typically $500, they start charging $1,000. That their costs didn't go up, but their prices went up, and that's price gouging. I think it's 38 states already have laws against price gouging in that respect, not specifically for food, but just in general for price gouging during emergencies. Um, it's hard to define outside of that though. And the way the Harris administration, the way her campaign is talking about this right now is that it means when retailers would raise their food prices beyond what their costs have gone up. Now, again, this isn't well defined, and I'm going to use an example here, and we're going to talk about a can of beans. I don't care what beans, any beans. Let's say the cost of the grocery store is 80 cents, and they typically sell it for $1. So if the cost goes to 85 cents, and the retailer wants to raise their price because instead of making 20 cents a can they would only make 15 cents a can, are they able to raise it to $1.05, which would keep their 20-cent gross margin, but their gross margin percentage would actually go down, so maybe they have to raise the price to $1.07. Well, that's not defined, so we don't know. And as far as we can tell at this point, there's no restriction on wholesale pricing. This would just be at the retail level. So, if the wholesaler has, the beans they sell for 80 cents to the store and they decide to raise it to 85 cents, even though their costs haven't gone up and they think they can sell it for 85 cents, and they can, capitalism would say, do it. That's the way capitalism works. If you have pricing power, you raise your prices and optimize the profit for your company and shareholders and stakeholders. There's no definition of this though in her proposal, and the other issue is, we've seen in the past, and most famously Richard Nixon put in wage and price controls in I believe '73. So clearly presidents have broad power to do this. Now, there's no way a law gets passed. And again, 38 states do have laws, but this law is a little different and would have to be, so detailed that, you couldn't get both Republicans and Democrats on board. And I don't know which side would go for what, but I guarantee you they won't agree. Now what do? All right, you have this edict in place, or this executive order that says retailers can't price gouge. All right, so the can of beans stays at 80 cents, but one region of the country is really hot and they're using a lot of electricity for air conditioning in all their stores in that region, and the retailer says, okay, well my costs have gone up, not for the beans, but my cost of operation. So what do I do now? Does this allow them to raise the price of beans from $1 to $1.01 or $1.02? Because their costs have gone up, and how do they prove it? What if their employee costs, their payroll costs go up? Because the law is constantly changing, minimum wages go up. Suddenly their minimum wage went up, so their costs went up, but not their food costs, not the cost of the can of beans. A can of beans is still 80 cents. Then they get to charge $1 or $1 2. None of this is defined. And even when it gets defined, how do you enforce it? It's, do you wait for people to call in and say, hey, Walmart raised their price of beans to $1.05? And I don't think they're cost. Well, who knows? Who knows what Walmart's cost is? The other thing is, you got the big three: Walmart, Target, and Kroger. Their cost for those beans may be 80 cents, but for smaller chains and mom and pop stores or convenience stores, their cost of those beans might be 90 or 95 cents. And then there's a question of which store wants to try to absorb those cost increases to let their volume stay high and let the other stores raise their prices and lose volume. And then does someone go in and say, okay, Walmart's still at $1, why is Target at $1.05? And they turn in Target, but who do you call? So that there's tens of thousands of food items, and there's thousands and thousands of stores who sell food. Beyond Walmart, Target, and Kroger, there's still thousands of stores that sell food. How do you keep track of this? So, it's I don't even know that right now or over the last year or two we saw a lot of what you would call price gouging at food retailers above and beyond raising prices to reflect their cost increase in those foods. I looked at it's you can't look at Target's and Walmart's financial statements and figure it out because they're not complete food retailers. You can go in Kroger and look at it, and from what I see in Kroger, their gross margins haven't changed dramatically. They actually went down one year. So it's hard to prove that there's been price gouging other than anecdotal evidence. So again, a good idea, but I think it's just a populist thought out there. Obviously, everyone thinks, oh, what a great idea, without really thinking this through. There's all sorts of economic and accounting issues, and most people never think of. So all they hear is, oh, she's going to hold down the price of food. No, she's not. And even if she could, I don't see how it ever work. So in my mind, it's just fluff. It's just a soundbite to throw out there to try to get more support. Maybe from the low income or middle class families who are tired of seeing the inflation for food. And this is her answer to, oh, we've had such rapid inflation. If it's only going to count when if they're going to allow price increases when the cost of food goes up, it doesn't stop the inflation. Because cost of products will go up, and then the retail price will go up. So give me your thoughts. It's not a bad idea. It's just it just can't be implicated or it can't be implemented. And even if it was, it can't be enforced. So good idea, but kind of meaningless. Tell me what you think. Comment. Bring up other topics, other policies that Harris is putting in place. As she gets to Social Security and Medicare, I'll certainly bring those to you. So far, she's supported what Biden has supported. With the things we hear from Sanders and Larson. Expand not only payments but expand the tax base. But when we get more, we'll talk about that. So again, let me know what you think, and let me know what other topics you want to cover, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.